Well, the day is here, guys, sharing 5 things that I absolutely hate about my 2024 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road Premium, and I will also share 5 things that I actually really like about this truck. If you guys are in the market for a new Tacoma, you can head on over to our forum to do some research there. I will leave a link right under Onyx Off-Road's link in the description, who happens to be the sponsor of today's video. So, of course, we got to start with the good before we touch on the bad, and the first thing that I enjoy about the new Tacoma is all of the tech. So the digital screen there, the 14-inch screen right here makes everything super easy to see, whether it's the Onyx Off-Road, which tells me exactly where I am in Point Washington, so we can see all of the off-road trails here. Having a 14-inch screen to display these maps on it, loading up maps into it if you're in kind of a remote location like I was out in Johnson Valley, had absolutely no signal there, but they sent all the coordinates and stuff over our phones, uploaded it into the app, and it was super sweet to have. So having a 14-inch screen with the technology in this new Tacoma is really cool, especially for things like your maps. Again, there's a link and a discount code in the description for Onyx, but it has our music and stuff here too, which is nice. I am in kind of bad service right now out here in Point Washington, but everything is really intuitive on the 14-inch screen. As for the 12.3-inch screen over here, it's really nice because things are very customizable here on this screen. You can have a whole bunch of different gauge dials and stuff, your trip, your pitch, your roll. If you're towing, with all of your temperature gauges, all of that stuff comes in handy. Down here too, I have a premium, so the dual climate control is pretty nice to have. And a new thing for the Tacoma here is some AC seats, which I actually really enjoy. There's an integrated brake controller, a brand new upgraded crawl control system, everything all integrated into this dial right here, that when you swap it and stuff, you can see a little Tacoma come in on the gauges right there, which is pretty rad. Even too, if we were to put it into like a multi-terrain select function like that, since we are off-road, we could change it up to sand, since we are in a mostly sandy environment right now. But just all this upgraded tech is honestly pretty nice to have. Now, people may say, well, simple's better. I enjoyed the simplicity of the 3rd gen Tacoma. This truck really doesn't have much different in it, aside from that grill shutter that's messing up on me, right? But aside from that, tech-wise inside, it's just improved tech, I guess. It's still a gauge cluster. The old one had some LCD on it. This one has a bigger screen. It's still a screen for our infotainment, just happens to be bigger. And then just other stuff too, like the digital rear view mirror, which you can't see out of because I have the GFC on top of mine. It's just all this tech in this Tacoma is actually honestly really nice to have. Now, since we're already inside the Tacoma, the next thing that I like is the drastically improved driving position over the 3rd gen Tacoma. I own 2 3rd gen Tacomas, just in case you guys are new to my channel. My biggest gripe with it was the seating position. In fact, before I bought this truck, I traded in my TRD Pro for it. I drove up to Kentucky with my TRD Pro 3rd gen, drove back with this one. My back was killing me with my 3rd gen Tacoma. This seating position in this truck, dude, it's perfect. It's so nice with this new Tacoma. The seats are nice and bolstered. If you're a little bit bigger of a guy, they may be a little too bolstered for you. But if you're super tall, this Tacoma has a great seating position. I don't smack myself on the steering wheel. Fully adjustable too on this. Toyota really, really improved the seating position in this truck. It was the biggest gripe, like aside from transmission shifting all over the place with the 3rd gen, the seating position had to be one of the main criticisms of that last generation truck. But Toyota absolutely just nailed it with this new seating position in the new Taco. Let's go ahead, pop the hood, and talk about item number 3 that I like about this new Tacoma. Now, the third thing, and I know that it's a little controversial, and I get it. Oh, god dang, so it's hot. Holy crap. Hot in Florida right now, is the powertrain. The third thing I like is the powertrain. Yes, Toyota went from a 6-cylinder down to a 4-cylinder, added a turbocharger, and now this is not me haktuing on Toyota, okay? And like fluffing them up. This engine, I'm just telling you guys, just drive this new truck with this 2.4 turbo, added to the 8-speed transmission, this truck gets up and goes. If numbers are a thing for you, with 4 being smaller than 6, look at the torque numbers on paper and look how quickly the torque comes on at about 1,700 RPMs. And this isn't even the hybrid setup. The hybrid gets 465 foot-pounds of torque, which is an absolute little monster of a package. But this truck, it drives really well, guys. I've been from Florida out to California, up to Utah, Arizona, Texas. I've put 10,500 miles on this truck in like the 3 months that I've owned it. And this engine has been great. The transmission has been great. I haven't had any issues with this truck. Each one of my tires and wheels weighs 90 pounds, which is very heavy for this truck. That's even with the C-load rated tire. And I have put other weight onto this vehicle. And with the gauge cluster saying 15.7, when you calculate tire math and stuff, it's at close to about 17, 18 miles per gallon, given the larger tire. I have 34s on this truck. So, I mean, the engine is handling it really well. When I put kind of the same amount of weight on my old third gens, I could really tell that the truck was struggling a little bit. The truck was spunky out of the gate, the third gen was, honestly. But the moment you started adding weight to it, it was not performing the way that you would really like it to. This truck, I've added weight to it, I've off-roaded it, it's been absolutely great. Another thing too I want to point out with the powertrain, guys, is just how easy the truck drives too with this electronic power steering. And then also the fun thing is when you put the shift column into manual mode, the truck actually allows you to really rev out very nicely, which is a nice feature to have, because sometimes when you put vehicles into manual mode, it kind of nannies it and it lets you rev up a little bit and then it just shifts for you. This one, you know, traction control all the way off, throw it into manual mode, you're able to really drift it around, have some fun with it, and kind of bounce it a little bit off the red line. Now, the fourth thing that I like is just how easily modifiable this new generation of Tacoma is. And what the heck do I mean by that? Well, this truck really honestly hasn't been out that long. It's been out maybe in the masses for about 3 months or so. I was able to build this brand new truck up in less than a month. Talking about things from like Nitop up here, right? They have these bumpers, these low pro bumpers that you could do with tow hooks. Wheels and tires, those are pretty sweet because you're able to just take them from any Toyota 6 lug pretty much, and it works on this truck. If you guys are looking to do different wheels on your vehicle, I do have a code relations race wheels, but just keep in mind a positive offset is great for these vehicles. This is a positive 12 offset on a 8-inch wheel with some 285/75 R17 Nitto Ridge grapplers. So just keep that in mind if you are looking to get new wheels for your Tacoma. Positive offset does these trucks very good. And then I took it to Westcott Designs too. They were able to bust out a roof rack, sliders. GFC came through with a topper on the back too. And then I also have some recovery hooks down here. And my build is like pretty OEM plus. There's not a whole bunch of stuff to it, but that's not to say that stuff isn't out there. Cali Rays, CBI, tons of companies, C4. I saw a bunch at the Overland Expo doing their own types of bumpers, their own rear bumpers, their own sliders, their own skid plates, interior MOLLE panels, tons of crap. When it comes to a Toyota, it takes a little bit for a new generation to get adopted. I get that. People do love our old stuff that we have for Toyotas, right? But the companies, the aftermarket companies, love it because these trucks don't stay stock long. People really pick them up. A lot of people like the way they look, even though if they may not off-road. But number 4 thing that I like about almost any Toyota, but especially, you know, this Tacoma, is the aftermarket scene for it. It's going to be wild. It's going to be absolutely wild. And it already is only like 4 or 5 months into its life cycle. And the 5th and final thing that I like before we get into dislikes is, I guess, the looks. Now, I did just mention that I did some stuff to my truck to make it not only look good, but perform well. But I really, really like the way that the 4th gen Tacoma's exterior looks along with the interior layout. It is just an evolution, really, of the 3rd gen Tacoma. I mean, when you look at them side by side, this one looks a little bit more edgy. For some people, it does look kind of like a mini Tundra in some sense. Like some people actually get confused online if it's a Tundra or if it is a Tacoma. But I mean, I just really like the way that it looks. It really does look like an evolution of the Tacoma. The wide hips and stuff that I love, it kind of gives it that little pre-runner kind of stance to it too. Allows the tires to tuck up nice. Also able to run bigger tires on this truck too. Toyota really thought all that out. These are like a 34-inch tire almost. I didn't have to cut, trim, do anything. People are putting 35s, 37s on their truck with minimal effort. So Toyota really thought out the design and also the function, and that continues to the interior too. I just like the whole, interior, man. Having a shelf right here, having little MOLLE panels for people, an oh shit handle right here. One thing I kind of don't like though is this grab handle, how it's integrated into the A pillar. It's just a little weird. The integration of the bigger screen on the dash, it's not too high, even though it protrudes just a little bit. But you do have a USB-C right here for data. You have USB-Cs down here too that are fast charging, which is awesome. Just the whole layout. Front seats forward is great in here. So with that in mind, front seats forward, let's talk about the very first dislike in this video, and it's the back seat space. So Toyota did not really improve the back seat space on the Tacoma. I'm sitting behind myself as a driver at 5'11". God didn't give me 6 foot, so you know my reviews are trustworthy because I would lie to 6 foot, right? But this is me pretty much behind myself. I have a nice grab handle right here to get up into. This rear seat sits very upright as opposed to the last generation, and my knees just barely touch. They barely touch. There's no AC back here for the rear occupants, not even in the middle console or in the roof, so that kind of stinks. But it's a mid-sized truck, guys. Kind of at the end of the day, if you really need a big seat in the back, if you have a family, I would highly suggest looking at a full size. If a mid-sized truck is what you're looking for me, the Ford Raptor, or I'm sorry, the Ford Ranger, I believe has the best rear seat that I've sat in, at least. And the Ford Maverick actually has a really big back seat for what it is. Toyota knows how to do a back seat in a mid-sized truck, and it was the first gen Tundra. The first gen Tundra was about as wide as this Tacoma, about as big as this Tacoma, but when you got the full four-door in that truck, Toyota knocked it out of the park. I don't know why they weren't able to do that with this truck, just to give people just a little bit more legroom. Doesn't need to be gigantic back here, just a little bit more. But the full four-door first-gen Tundra, bro, that was like the best like size truck. It was smallish like this Tacoma. You still had a 6.5 foot bed. People actually had room in the back seats, and there was vents in this B pillar right here. So Toyota knows how to do it. But again, just the back seat is unfortunately lacking in the Tacoma, but kind of caveat, it is a mid-sized truck. Now the second thing that I dislike, and man, this paint looks good now, right? Doesn't it? I ceramic coated it, paint corrected it, but before this, it was garbaggio. The underground paint color had swirls and Mars and all this stuff in the paint that I had to have my detailer, Chris, do a single stage polish on it and also ceramic coat it. Ceramic coat was just a bonus, but I had to have this paint just corrected so bad. And the crappy thing is that people with the 4Runner, with their Tacomas, all this stuff, this paint color is awesome. The paint color is really, really cool, but tons of people with the underground paint color are saying that there's just swirls everywhere. It marks easy, it rock chips easy, which is true as well. I do have some rock chips on it. Toyota's just kind of notorious for just thin paint, you know? I mean, I did take this truck on a long road trip out to California and the West Coast where they do have rocks, but I was just very disappointed with this paint color. It is a just gloss, so it's not a metallic to hide a lot of those scratches and swirls and imperfections, right? And then the orange peel that tries to cover those imperfections, it was a little bit too much. But, you know, after a single stage polish, a lot of people are having their dealerships reimburse them for that, which that is nice. But man, dude, this truck just needed a whole lot of work with the paint, unfortunately. Now we're going back on inside for dislike number 3. This truck, guys, was somewhat expensive. It was $53,000 for a Tacoma, but it is the top of the line before you were able to get the hybrid engines and stuff. But what I wish with this truck was that there was a little bit more soft touch materials everywhere. I will agree that there is more plastic in this truck than there should be. Now the 3rd gen had a lot of plastic too, right? Almost as much, if not a little bit more. To me, this truck needs the treatment, especially with mine being a premium, right? I want the soft touch materials right here, like the TRD Pro Tacoma does. I want it up here, like the TRD Pro Tacoma does. And also my glove box over there, I would like to have some soft touch materials. This truck just has too much plastic, honestly, for the price. It's durable, don't get me wrong. Like, it feels good, nice, like rubberized right here. The door feels super solid, but I just wish, man, that there was a little bit more soft touch material, even coming to the back. This is freaking plastic right there. I mean, I get Toyota's trying to make money and stuff, and I understand that. But at the same time, man, I want the money that I made to go a long ways, dude. And this is just kind of disappointing that this is plastic. This is plastic, just tons of plastic everywhere. Now, I'm not saying for Toyota to put soft touch materials in the SRs and SR5s, right? Obviously, you know, we want to have them right here on the door, but this is a premium, right? I want it to have the soft touch materials everywhere. I don't want to go up into a limited or a $65,000 Trail Hunter or TRD Pro just to get, you know, materials where I feel like they should be on my door. Adding soft touch materials to this Tacoma, I feel like would go a long way. The interior is solid. It actually is solid, but just a little too much plastic in places where I wish there wasn't plastic for the price that I pay for this truck. And the next thing I don't like, you guys can see I don't have a spare tire right here, is the size for not only the spare tire allowed, but the gas tank size. So that is what I dislike about this truck. The 3rd gen Tacoma goes from a 21 gallon gas tank to this one, which now has an 18.2, which when this vehicle was stock and I got better gas mileage, that's fine, whatever. It's not really that big of a deal. But not that many people will keep a Tacoma stock for the most part. Again, either if you off-road or you don't, you want it to look cool, whatever. That sucks now for range. It really stinks for range, only having an 18-gallon tank. I could really tell the difference when I drove out from Florida to California, and then when I drove from California back, I was stopping a lot. I was stopping a lot for gas. It really stinks that it diminishes the range that much. And also size-wise too, for a spare tire, you can really only fit like a 33-inch tire under the back here, which isn't a big deal. Like that's not the end of the world. But these tires that I have, I say they're 34s. They're like 33.6 or something like that, 33.8 maybe. Not quite a true 34, and they don't even fit in the spare tire spot. So if you're to upgrade from 33-inch tires at all on your 4th gen Tacoma, and you want to have a full-size spare, you would have to have it in the bed of the truck or always rock a tire carrier. So definitely a miss, I feel like, with the smaller gas tank. I really wish that when Toyota said, well, yeah, it's more fuel efficient, so we made the tank smaller. Like, no, I want the tank the same size or bigger and more fuel efficient so I could get like 500 miles of range out of my truck. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I really had to reach a little bit for my 5th thing. I almost copped out and just said pricing, and I'm not trying to justify the price. These Tacomas are a bit more expensive for sure than the outgoing generation, but everyone just sees the main price, right? Like they see the $65,000 Tacoma price for the TRD Pro, and they forget about like the SRs that are like right at 30 and stuff, right? And even now too, these things are having discounts on them, upwards of $5,000. So price is like subjective to like what truck you want, what package you want, do you have a deal or not? So that's an honorable mention. I guess the 5th thing that I stretched for is the very low hanging exhaust on the truck. You could see that mine isn't here anymore. I replaced it with a Nytop exhaust. I will eventually be putting MagnaFlow on this truck too, just to see how it is as well, to see if we could get the 4-cylinder to sound any more throaty, I guess. But the exhaust placement for an off-road vehicle hangs down pretty low. Toyota did a really good job with this rear bumper for actual clearance with it. It tucks up nicely. Really, the only thing I ever drug out in Moab was the hitch receiver right there. But the exhaust, you guys can see this before picture. This is how Moab started, and this is how Moab ended. So the exhaust just hangs really low. Toyota tucks it up nice and good with the TRD Pro, but on this off-road model, it just hangs way too low. Now, if you don't want to get like a Nytop one like I did, Toyota does sell their own kind of axle dump. And then the MagnaFlow exhaust that I'll be installing on this truck, it will also have kind of like an Overland Series version or an off-road series version that kind of goes up over the axle, which is nice. So it's not just dumped right at the cab, but doesn't protrude out of the side. So those are my 5 likes and dislikes, guys, on this brand new Tacoma. If more come up in the future, I'll let you guys know, man. I've had this truck for about 3.5, 4 months. Have put 10,500 miles on it. I think it's at like 10.6 right now. I have documented a check engine light that I got on this truck. It went away. It comes back. In fact, as I was recording this video, I drove all the way out here to Point Washington, off-roaded a little bit, had some fun, parked the truck here, set up all my stuff, turned the truck back on to show you guys the interior tech features of it. and the check engine light fired back up. So it's definitely intermittent. We do have a part on order. When I swap this vehicle out for the Tundra, Toyota will replace that for free, under warranty, of course. But everything about this truck I will continue to document for you guys, especially for those who are in the market for one. So I truly appreciate you all watching. Again, I will leave a link for our forum in the description of this video, and also for Onyx Off-Road. Huge thanks to them for being a sponsor on the channel as well. I will leave a discount code and a link to their subscription service down in the description as well. So guys, appreciate you all watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, see you later.